How's it going, YouTube? Chase.actual here. In this video, we're going to go over the most fundamental topic of iOS and macOS, watchOS, whatever. Any kind of programming in the Apple development is all built upon this idea and method called a view controller. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So I've got Xcode opened up here, and we're just going to create a new project, a new single view app. We'll just call this application. It's not really important. Now, all a single view app does is it builds or gives us a preset of an application with a single view controller. So, as I was saying, in our main.storyboard, we have a single view controller. And this is literally what the user is going to see when they load up your application. And for each quote-unquote page of your app or section, you're most likely going to have different view controllers, each with their own view controller.swift file. Obviously, well, they won't be named the same, but nevertheless, we will have, for every view controller, we will have an appropriate .swift file. So let's go ahead and start with understanding the graphical representation of our view controller. Okay, as I mentioned, this is what the user is actually going to see, and in this view controller we can create different instances of labels and text and buttons and so forth. So just to demonstrate, let's go ahead and just add in some labels and button. I can even change this text right here, and we'll put in a text, just some random elements that we might see. We can even put in a little switch. Okay, now I'm going to run our application, keeping in mind that we have, while this simulator builds up, keeping in mind we have not even touched this view controller .swift file. And we can see that it is connected to that via this custom class. Our class option is our view controller. Let's bring up our simulator. Actually, while this loads up, let's go ahead and actually even remove this class. Press enter, and it's going to just set it as a blank default UI view controller. So we'll stop this real fast. So now this view controller, this graphical representation of our view controller, has no idea about this view controller.swift file, as it's not connected right here. So let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. This is our app right here. It's going to install. Give it a second to load up. Alright, so we can actually see that, there are buttons here and even text fields. I can even type in these. I can even move this button. I can even, I change this text up here. I can press this button. I can fully interact with this application right now, just as is, literally with no code at all. Now, how we handle what's going on here, that's where we have the .swift or the code section of our view controller. So every single instance we create here, we need to connect to the appropriate view controller, and we'll just go ahead and do that real fast. And we'll set this class again to this view controller file, and we'll press option, click on our storyboard, and to create, now this view controller is connected to this, but these elements that we've laid on top of this view controller have no idea. We cannot access them just as is, so we're going to add control drag and create what we are called outlets, and we can just give it a random name. And this is simply basically variables created for each UI element that we've implemented in our view controller. And this is how we will access them. So that is a little overview, and intuition of what a view controller is and its main parts. I hope you enjoyed the video and you learned something useful. If you did, please leave a like and consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next video.